Okay, so something happened here in Carlsbad, which is kind of interesting. There was a shooting in Wisconsin. A young lady. I don't think she wasn't even an adult, was she?
Nope.
She was under 18, and she shot up a Christian school, private Christian school in Wisconsin. And every indicator is that there are all kinds of red flags that went up. And she was quiet. She didn't have any friends. She was listening and or following kind of violent or questionable content online, and all the usual stuff was happening. But it turns out there is a San Diego connection, which is kind of interesting. So out of Carlsbad, 20-year-old man from Carlsbad. This is from Fox 5 in San Diego. 20-year-old man from Carlsbad, who authorities say was found to be in contact with a school shooter in Wisconsin, is now facing a potential gun violence emergency protective order, court documents show. Remember I said a couple months ago, I said they're going to stop calling them GVROs. They're going to start calling them protective orders because I think that polls better. Right. So protective orders. Mm-hmm. On Wednesday, the Carlsbad Police Department filed the petition against the man with a hearing on the restraining order scheduled for Friday, January 3rd. The move follows revelations by law enforcement reportedly linking the man to the 15-year-old. She was 15. This murderer in Wisconsin was a 15-year-old girl. Anyway, linking the man to a 15-year-old Natalie Samantha Rupnow. The teen opened fire during a study hall at Abundant Life Christian School in the city of Madison, Wisconsin, earlier this week. One student and a teacher were killed amid the carnage, and 6 others were injured. Authorities confirmed. Rupnow was also found dead at the school by an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound, Wisconsin authorities said, which is extremely common with these mass murders, as usually the last victim is the one doing the murdering. I just don't understand it. I don't think anybody truly does. As reported by the Associated Press, a California judge issued the restraining order against the Carlsbad man under the state's red flag law. Just days after the Wisconsin shooting, this type of gun confiscation legislation is intended to temporarily remove firearms from a person who's been deemed a threat to themselves or a person who's been deemed a threat to someone else. Also reported by the Associated Press, the Carlsbad man is suspected of plotting a mass shooting with Rupnow. Excuse me. Police say he had been messaging her prior to the shooting. He reportedly told FBI agents that he had discussed with Rupnow potential plans to target a government building while arming himself with explosives. When and where the potential act was to take place is unknown. As of Thursday, no charges have been announced against the Carlsbad man through the protective order. Though the protective order has been filed, local authorities have not yet confirmed on whether it's solely linked to apparent communications with the teen shooter in Wisconsin. Fox 5 KUSI has reached out to the Carlsbad Police Department for comment, but they haven't responded. Meanwhile, the FBI San Diego declined to provide a statement. And it goes on to talk about what is a GVEPO, they're now calling it, a gun violence emergency protective order. So they're not calling them GVROs anymore. They're calling them GVEPOs. It's kind of interesting. A couple things that are important to understand is, number one, this 20-year-old didn't have any guns and can't buy a gun. And he's 20. He's in California. Is the way the law states right now. He wasn't even planning on shooting anybody. In fact, he was. It sounded like his plans involved explosives, arming himself with explosives.
So this is just seeing that slippery slope, right? They introduced it as being a protection from those who own firearms, violent tendencies.
It is, and I got to tell you, in all fairness, this is the first GVRO or whatever they're calling it now, the first protective order under the red flag laws. This is the first one I've seen them issue that actually kind of makes sense. It kind of goes to
bombing and threatening to bomb are already illegal.
Well, they are.
Right.
But what I'm saying is all the other ones I've seen, it was they were doing something. You know, they weren't planning a mass shooting. They were doing something else.
Like our driver that we had.
Right.
Right.
He was involved in a defensive gun use, and they said, well, we don't like the way he did his defensive gun use.
Right.
So we're going to issue a gun violence restraining order. This actually kind of falls into the way that they sold GVROs to the voter. They said, look, if somebody's thinking of doing something before they can do something, we want to take away their tools to be able to do something. I still think this is a dog and pony show. What they've been doing is issuing these protective orders or GVROs to kind of pad the numbers, and say, hey, look, we've issued 500 of these things. Well, yeah, 499 of them, you could have arrested them and taken their guns without a GVRO. There's no need for this. They're clearly abusing GVROs. So on the one hand, this is actually close to what they described, or the way they described they would use GVROs if passed. But on the other hand, it's not. He's not old enough to legally buy a gun, and he didn't have a gun, so they didn't even take guns away. And he wasn't planning on shooting anybody. Am I splitting hairs? I don't know if I'm splitting hairs, but the point is, like you said, if he's making terroristic threats,
Already illegal.
Yeah.
There's not a cop out there that would say, well, there's nothing I can do if all he's doing is making illegal terroristic threats. And what are they doing with this protective order? They're preventing him from buying guns that are already illegal for him to buy. Now we have, and the reason I know that they don't allow adults who are 20 to buy guns is because we have a lawsuit, that's trying to give those rights, or at least stop California from infringing on those rights, to adults. Anyway, so the impact. California's GVEPO is a key part of the state's broader efforts to prevent mass shootings, suicides, and other gun-related incidents. By providing a mechanism to temporarily remove firearms from those who pose a potential threat, officials with California Attorney General's office say GVEPOs help to reduce the immediate risk of violence and allows time for proper intervention. It is particularly beneficial for addressing the complex issues related to mental health and gun violence. Many instances of gun violence, including suicides, involve individuals who may not have previously been flagged as a criminal threat, but are at risk due to mental health struggles or sudden emotional distress. GVEPO aims to intervene before these situations escalate. It's so disappointing. This showed up on Fox 5 and KUSI. It's so disappointing. This is not a news article. They're not reporting news. They are advancing a narrative. That is not what they have done. The GVROs, these protective orders, that's not what they have done. And it is not the duty or responsibility of a reporter, whoever Amber Coakley is. It is not your job to explain why we should support a political invention like a GVEPO. This is such a horrible article. Anyway, interesting connection to an absolute tragic event. I hope that this guy is prosecuted for whatever crimes it's determined that he was looking to commit. I just don't understand. I really just don't understand what was going on with this 15-year-old girl. We will never know what was going on with her because she ended her own life. But absolutely tragic. All the victims in Wisconsin, I'm so sorry. And it's certainly horrible that there was a connection here in Carlsbad, but this GVEPO did absolutely nothing to prevent anything. And it's important that we stop infringing on people's rights, that we stop treating the Second Amendment like it's some kind of secondary right. So I think that's the end. What do you think?
I think that's a great way to end.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you guys sitting and listening to us. Truly hope that you have a very Merry Christmas.